Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here to discuss and deliberate, as always, issues of concern, controversy, and get into details of issues that is currently under discussion. Of late in the assembly and otherwise, we've seen a lot of heat and dust being raised over the issue of the construction of the new BORIM bridge, which the people of Lotuli have been consistently saying that this acquisition of over 1.6 lakh square meters of ecologically sensitive Khazan lands lying within the CRZ, which sustains hundreds of indigenous families who traditionally cultivate paddy and of course fish in the Khazans, and the fact that it's prime agricultural land, that land is being sacrificed because of the new BORIM bridge. And of the 7 alignments proposed, none of these alignments are bereft of touching the Khazan areas. This is broadly what the issue is. On the other side, of course, there is very little disagreement or absolutely no disagreement, and correct me if I am wrong, about the fact that a new bridge is needed for whatever objections there are. The basic argument here is that the new bridge is needed, and even the people of Lotuli are not denying that. They are not saying that we are opposed to the bridge per se, but the issue here is now to look at a balance and look at the correct facts which govern this entire sentiment. And the point here is that, is there a way to have this kind of a new bridge which connects areas from the airport down to the south without affecting traditional livelihoods and the loss of lands and economic activity which govern these? This is where the issue actually lies. The government, of course, has been having a lot of conversations with people of Lotuli. The Lotuli Tenant Association has met the Environment Minister. I think you all met the CM as well. Yes. And also the Mr. Nitin Gadkari, the Union Highway Minister. And a lot of discussions have happened, but the situation as it stays right now is that the government is going ahead with it, but the people are saying that, look, until and unless we are satisfied and all the plans are disclosed to us, we are unwilling to give up our lands. Now, I won't delve too much into a detailed introduction because there's a lot to unpack, and we have 5 very esteemed panelists who will delve into various aspects of it. On my left is Giriraj Pai Vednekar, who is a spokesperson of the BJP, has studied the matter extensively and will give his view, the government view, and the ground view as he sees it. Again, Damodar Kochkar is the past president of the GSIA and very active member of the Verna Industrial Estate also, which association, Verna VIA, which also has been a stakeholder of sorts in that vicinity, and they are, with so many industries coming up, and the fact that this road, even that missing link, the first project which led to land acquisition, was also a kind of a VIA project in that sense. Then very important person in this discussion, of course, is Albert Pinheiro, who is the president of the Lotuli Tenant Association. Albert has been waging his ground level battle and taking up for the rights of the people who own the Khazans. And next to him is Lino Fernandez, who's a member of the Lotuli Tenants Association. Welcome, Lino. And last but not the least, of course, is Dr. Anton Mascarenhas. He's a retired scientist of the NIO, and what is most important is has been actively involved with a lot of scientific work with regard to many of the key bridges in Goa. I'll first start with you, Albert, to essentially address one point. See, we all know the general nature of the opposition, which we are all aware of. Is that A, do you feel the bridge is necessary, firstly? Secondly, if the answer is yes, then what is the way out of this? Because out of the 7 alignments, when they're all touching Khazans, what is the way out of it for least damage according to you?
Now, this particular point it had to come right in the beginning, before these alignments could go through and they could settle down on alignment number 7. And this alignment number 7, as per the recommendations, there's one reason that is shown, that no houses are going, and it is the shortest distance. But the type of land that it is going through and crossing through, and the damage that could be done, is unimaginable. The villagers cannot even think of that we will be living without our Khazans. Now, when you ask
Could
me,
you elaborate that this particular point when you said people feel that they will be living without their Khazans? Could you elaborate that on what basis is this conclusion being arrived?
what happens is that if you see the topography of Lotali, our village, it's hills on one side, then there's flat land, and then we come down below. There are the waterways, we call in Konkani Ire, and there are springs. Lotali is full of springs. And the water from the springs finally, after serving the fields, makes its way to the Zuari. It is through our sluice gate. Now, if there is any change done over there, flooding is another thing. Flooding is another thing. We kept everywhere there are ways kept for water. Even when there is some planning done near the church, when they are doing those drainages for water, the aim finally is that it will lead to Zuari.
Okay.
Zuari. And on the banks of that Zuari river, people have come to the Zuari river. Zuari river is not gone to people. For sustaining the people who are living there, they are basically who are in pisciculture, the fisher folks. And most of them were also farmers.
Right.
So their total survival is on that. Now, if you ask me, what will happen to the Khazan? We have seen it ourselves. We ourselves can't even make one single change in that Khazan. If we even take one machinery over there to desilt our folios, what is there? The last year, the JCB got stuck. Second JCB they brought, that also got stuck. Then the ancient method of putting dry coconuts and wood and all that, so it could be retrieved. Every time our agriculture department gives us tractors, if there is slight rain somewhere, they are stuck there. People have to get together with ropes and all and remove it. So it is a particular type of a Khazan. It's not any other land. If you throw a stone there, after 3 days you can't find the stone. Then when you will come to know is when we go to do farming, it starts touching our leg down below, or we get a cut. Even if somebody throws a water bottle there, it will give a cut.
Okay, we'll go into this point a little more in detail. I'm just flagging it now, and we'll come back to it again. Just a quick, like a general knowledge question for all of us. See, when this alignment happens, since you've been regularly talking to the government and others, you're probably aware of the exact alignment, okay? Which you can enlighten us as well.
Yes.
What I'm essentially saying is that whatever the 7th alignment is, once the 7th alignment takes place and they build the bridge on stilts, won't the people be able to cultivate below as it's done in many places?
I wanted this question,
Right.
in fact. If you see the missing link,
Yeah.
when the missing link was coming, I have my field over there. But it was at the edge of a Khazan. So we said we are there for development, let it go. Some part will go, we'll get rest of the part to do agriculture.
Right.
I gave them 3 letters. They came to me.
Right.
I said, for development,
Right.
go ahead.
Right.
But after that, you retrieve the thing. I want to do my agriculture. Bring it to its original position. After completion, I gave them letter. 2 letters I gave. Last time that when I got a chance, when we were having a meeting in Altin with the principal chief engineer, Mr. Parsikar, I gave him both the letters. He was kind enough. Day before yesterday, after our chief minister made a statement that yes, 3 years we will compensate, then after that we will see whether we can retrieve it and whether they can do agriculture. Unfortunately, there was another farmer for 4-5 years. He's been writing to the chief engineer all directly. He also came. he took him to that field also. And
Okay,
then he
I'll just
said-
come back to you. Dr. Mascarenhas, one quick point here. See, prima facie, and you understand the nature and the importance of these kind of ecosystems, and especially Khazans. Are you of the view that this will lead to an absolute destruction of the Khazans, and you know, if yes, then is this the way forward? Right.
Now, talking about these Khazans.
Yes.
Now, to start with, the Khazan is not a scientific term. Okay, but historically these lands are well known that they are reclaimed and all that. I have my own views on that, but this is not the time. Yeah, this is a tidal area because there are creeks, backwaters. It's an intricate system of Poi and
Yes.
you know, those drainage. Now all that basically being a tidal area, it comes under the CRZ.
Right.
That is a national law.
Right.
Yeah. Now, these are governed by the daily tides. Yeah. Now, if you see the CZMP that is linked to CRZ 2011, these are all ESAs, marked as ESAs, ecologically sensitive areas. Yeah, is marked in the CZMP. Now, before that, the regional plan of 2016, which was approved, there also is marked as K. Now, Khazans are basically, as a geologist, these are geological features. They are lowlands, wetlands. We call them wetlands. And for today's discussion, for me, they are wetlands.
Right.
Okay, some are below the sea level, river level. Some may be above the sea level.
Right.
Yeah. So, in any case, the tide comes in and tide goes out. So, they are CRZ bound. Now, under the CRZ 2011, we also have the NDZ. You have a no development zone with respect to the high tide HTL of the river.
Right.
It can be maximum 100 meters. It can be minimum depending on the width of the river or the creek.
Right.
Okay. Now, in addition to the CRZ, we also have a what you call it as the hazard line. Now, nobody has discussed this. Now, this is a scientific issue.
Right.
Yeah, bridge or no bridge is another matter.
Right.
Now, the hazard line is something that nobody has discussed. Now, what is hazard line? Hazard line is a line up to which the saline water can go during, for example, an extreme event. There can be a tsunami, or there can be winds that where the net rise of the tide is much more than a normal tide. So, water just gushes in. An example I can give you of this hazard line is at Ambara. You know, at Ambara, where you have that restaurant by the highway,
Yes.
when there is a high tide, the entire area goes underwater. Now, according to me, scientifically, and it's marked by the NCSM, the hazard line goes along the highway. And then it goes right to the base of the Kerosi Hill. So the entire area up to the river comes under the hazard line. It's a vulnerable area where, according to CRZ, CZMP and all these existing laws, you cannot have development. Now, there are other issues here. Now the CRZ 2011, which is applicable today, yeah, although there is a CRZ 2019, it's not yet applicable. Now under the CRZ 2011 and the corresponding CZMP, yeah, there are three activities which are allowed. One is the permissible activity like agriculture, pisciculture, and then paddy fields. You can also play volleyball and do fishing and all that.
Right.
Those are permissible activities
Right.
within the NDZ.
Right.
Now this is NDZ within the hazard area and also the tidal area.
Right.
So, then you have the prohibited activities.
Right.
You cannot build a house.
Right.
Simply you cannot build a house. You cannot put an hotel in a
Right.
paddy field
Right.
or a
Right.
wetland. You cannot do it. Yeah. But CRZ also has got another provision known as regulated activities. Now a road and a bridge comes under the regulated activity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the fact that it's regulated doesn't mean that you can put a bridge. It doesn't mean that you can put a road. For that you need what is known as a comprehensive scientific EIA.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now unless the EIA is done,
Right.
you will not know. You can have 10 alignments.
Right.
But you need that EIA to be done, in my opinion. In my opinion. Now, in case of Zwari, EIA was never done. Okay. In case of Mandovi, it was done very, a small report was done. But Zwari, it was not done. Now, what lies under the river, okay, under the level of the water, nobody knows. I know. Okay. But only a proper EIA can tell you all that. So, what is the health of the Zwari, for example? But that's a different issue. Yeah. Now here, if you take the NDZ hazard line, you cannot have development. But being a regulated activity, and you can have a
bridge provided an EIA.
EIA provided EIA is done.
Right.
A comprehensive EIA, and EIA is not just a report.
Right.
It involves flora, it involves fauna,
Right.
it involves people,
Right.
it involves those who are against, it involves those who are for. Okay, the transport system is a very big study and
Comprehensive, yes.
yeah,
Correct.
based on that you decide whether it is feasible or not.
Okay.
Now, from a scientific perspective, that's what I can tell you without any. Has it been done? I really do not know. I heard
Okay.
some EIA has come, but has it been done?
Okay,
You know?
I'll bring Giresh
Yeah, yeah.
Venekar here, so he's representing the government spokesperson of the BJP, and of course studied the issue
Yeah.
very, very closely. Giresh, if you could just throw light on two aspects. One, of course, the EIA part, which has been raised by Dr. Mascarenhas. The other being the fact that when this whole alignment was done, and we're talking about Khazans and ecosystems and other things, and these alignments have been done. So, there are two or three things that people have said. The basic charge here is that conversations have not happened with the people, they've not been taken into confidence. Secondly, when these alignments are going to destroy our pristine Khazans. And three, have all precautions been taken and enough environmental mitigations being done?
See, I think as far as consultation is concerned, I think when the discussion started itself, we have spoken about how government has been approachable, whether it is CM, whether it is the principal chief engineer. So I will not agree with the bit that government has not been accessible or to
Okay.
be able to answer the question. Now, there are two factors which we have to take. One is if you start localizing every issue, then who looks at the state interest? So first, alternate Bori bridge. First, we have to understand it's a lifeline that connects Ponda to Salset or even to Mormugava. And of course, I mean it's a no-brainer that we talk about rail connectivity through Madgaon or Vasco. We talk about port connectivity through Mormugao. We talk about air connectivity. We talk about connectivity of Ponda with Verna Industrial Estate. Now that road which has come, I agree that even when the missing link was there were certain murmurs, people still. But today, how much easy it has become for somebody from even locally, for that matter, to go to Verna Industrial Estate work. And I think Mr. Kochkar can further confirm that. Now there were 7 alignments, but I think the view should always be to minimize demolition of houses, the shortest route possible, so that all these factors are concerned. Now, if I take Dr. Mascarenhas' words, as far as EI is concerned, I will get back to you whether it's been done or not done. But if it's not been done, then both supporters and opposition are speaking in the air. If that is what the argument is. Now, the alternate one was coming to about 6.38 kilometers. The 2 was 8.35. Third was 6.23. Fourth was 8.23. The fifth was 8.23. The alternate 6 was 7.43, and the last one, which is the current one which government wants to go ahead with, is 5.73. Now coming to
This is the length.
the length of the bridge. Again, the other aspect which I think gets always missed, like for example, the first question you had asked was whether they believe that the bridge is needed. I think the answer did not come. So
No, they have not come.
That was the first question.
Right.
What I am trying to say is,
Right.
we can beat around the bush, but if we don't come to the substance of it, because see what has happened, I'll tell you. We tend to oppose everything. For example, there was a tree being cut because it was hazardous. There was so much of UN cry, but when the tree falls and somebody loses life, again it's the government which gets blamed. So damn if you do, damn if you don't. That seems to be the philosophy. Now I am coming to since I have come that it's already the shortest. Now let us put in perspective the land which is getting lost. The total land acquisition will be approximately 39.31 hectares. Out of which on the Lotli side is I think about 12.24. So approximately out of 40 hectares, we are talking about 12 hectares which is on the Lotli side. Now my question is, what about the remaining 28?
Okay.
You don't hear murmurs. There are, so the one, that is the alternative. The second argument which is in favor is, there is no scope for road widening. I mean, imagine the number of businesses and the houses that will be lost in the process. So again, what I am trying to put in perspective is, the opposition is coming from 12 hectares, whereas 28 hectares, there has not been much opposition. Land is getting lost, but it's been there. Secondly, it's going to be a cable stilt bridge. Now, what CM has promised in the assembly is something unprecedented. Actually, once the land acquisition happens, it's the government property. But CM has still said that he's ready to work with the center and see, even if possible, they can be compensated for the loss of business which is going to from the farming income. They will even try and see if something else can be done. As Dr. Maskaran has again said, for a lot of period the fields are under water. So pisciculture can still be done with multiple other alternatives. All I am trying to say is opposition which is currently being there is, I think, partly motivated and partly factual. And I make this, and this is everywhere. I mean, you look at MOPA, it gets opposed. You look at Zuari, it gets opposed. Atal Setu gets opposed. Like what we were discussing just before the debate started. I'll just take 2 minutes and then I'll finish my argument.
Right.
See, for the loss of mangroves and other alternatives, I think even the Atal Setu was opposed. And the argument is, somebody told me it is unsafe for bikers. Bikers are any which was not allowed. So please let us not, see, we know something is fine, but only we know it is an attitude which is hurting Goa's development, and every project is getting delayed because of that. Now, as far as the actual utilization of the land is concerned, be it the piers which are going to be there, the up ramp, down the ramp, everything included, the PWD estimators, the land which will be finally used will be 10% of what is acquired, because it will be on stilts.
Right.
And only the bridges, the poles will come, and so 90% area will be freed up. Chief Minister has already said he is ready to consider. So what I am trying to say is, the compensation, as far as the compensation is concerned, will be paid in full. But this is a project which is of state's importance, and ecologically and sustainability wise, I think alternative 7 is the best option which is before the government.
Okay, we'll just come back to a lot of important points. Lino, I'll bring you in, and Mr. Kochik, thank you for patiently waiting. We'll get you in after that. The thing is, there are a couple of points that he has raised. One, of course, is the fact that there are 7 alignments. This is the shortest alignment, number 1. Number 2, it will be on stilts, which will still lead to cultivation happening. Number 3, an important point that he's raised is that out of so many acres, it is, the 12 hectare loss community is, of course, up in arms, and they have their own justifications, which is absolutely fine. But the point is that there are people who are losing, who are in that 28 hectare community also. One is not hearing so much about them. Quick response to some of the points he's raised.
So what happens now? Whether it is steel or a mud, service road is required for that. Once you put the service road, you cannot take it back.
Right.
That will flourish in our field, the total mud, and our cultivation will get spoiled, which we have shown last time when the engineer had come.
Right.
From Delhi also, and the technician also.
Right.
And they have agreed for it. So you cannot put a steel bridge without the service road.
Okay.
How they will take the material?
Okay. My question is, by and large, do you all feel that the bridge is needed?
So there at present, the bridge which is there, it has been given the guarantee of 20 more years.
Okay.
And we have suggested them to take the bridge from the old Portuguese bridge.
No, but that bridge is much narrower than what is needed.
No. There is a large space is there over there.
Okay.
Till the pipeline is there,
okay,
you can utilize that.
Sujay Baba, I would like to just come in here. I'm sorry. See, once you have crossed that Dhavri bypass,
right?
You basically come and get stuck in traffic because of the truck movement and everything. Now, even with the Zuari bridge coming up, a lot of traffic has eased. But basically, what you are looking at is it's bottlenecks.
Right.
So, with the existing alignment, either they are saying that let somebody else lose the land, or save the Khazans and let people lose houses. What is the argument here?
Okay, Albert, quick reaction from your side, then I'll bring in
now
the others. Yes.
When it is talked about there are bottlenecks,
Yeah.
NH 566 after Sai Baba temple, that is also 20 meters acquired.
Okay.
Why government cannot utilize their 20 meters if it is done 12/8 is left? Where are the houses come?
No, you are saying that if you use that takes care of the widening of the bridge.
besides the bridge on the left and right, if you look at the land today over there, there's a pipeline bridge come, there's old Portuguese bridge plus this bridge. Down below, what has happened now, what would happen to happen, that is already happened to the Khazan there.
What has happened to the Khazan there?
You can come and see even today how much of cultivation is going on there. Not possible.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Mr. Kushkar, since we've not brought you in, and then I'll come to okay, two things. One, of course, is that the industry and the pharma companies and others, they are essentially saying that, look, the missing link is just one part of it. You need the other missing link to join it, and that becomes a complete link. Now, the point here is, do you really believe that this is being used primarily only for a link from the airport to other towns like Margao and Pond and others, or there is another kind of allegation being leveled by activists and others, essentially stating that this is also being used, will ultimately be used for the transportation of coal from Murbugao and others. I'll get other people to answer, but that has also been a very strong point that has come, that it's being done mainly for coal transportation and not for anything else.
Okay, so whatever you may say, coal transport or anything, see, if you see now about 5-10 years back, how the road conditions were in Goa, you know, when you were to go from Margao to Panjim, you have to go via Akshimam or, we went through that process of 2.5 years, you know, when the construction was going of Zuari Bridge. Now, within 20 minutes, you can reach from Verna to Panjim.
Yeah.
Now, when you come from Belgaum or any place to Margao, you get stuck up near the Sai Baba temple. 1 hour at least in the evening time, you get stuck there. Now, somewhere we have to find out a solution. I don't know, I am not touching the issue about what is affecting, how many people are affecting. But the fact remains that we need that connection of the missing link. Now, this missing link, in Verna also the road went through Verna Industrial Estate. Verna Industrial Estate also had to give a road, you know, IDC, whatever was acquired for industrial purpose, that road, that area had to be given to PWD or a road to do that road. Now, after doing that road, if you are not able to get connected, means the industrial estate wise, see, Verna will get connected to Bethada, Pune, and even to the crossing to the strait, NH4. So, this is a must, I feel. And before coming here, I didn't know the actual alignment. So, I went to PWD office, checked the road position. Actually, that what Giriraj is saying, that is the shortest route and it is straightly aligned. Means from that bridge where you have already crossed the Verna Lodlim road.
Correct.
Your bridge also is complete. Only question is about crossing the river. I agree to them that the service road will be required to construct the this. Now, one thing that has to be assured is that it's not impossible that land cannot be retrieved back. It's not impossible. So, when you do that service road and do the foundation, once that foundation part is done, in Kortalim also we have seen, it's on the single column and the 6-lane road is going. After that, if a proper precaution is there, and when you tender it out also, that condition has to be put that when the contractor finish the work, he has to remove entire thing, put the thing in order, because I feel that other than those slits, you won't have any issue.
But there should be penal provisions.
There has to be penal provision.
Because all of them are skeptical primarily because they've had a very bad experience.
Because of the past. And it is true. See, it is true that it has happened.
It is our livelihood.
The
trial and error method cannot be done. We were surviving there. We are indigenous community. Your progress, your requirement is one issue, but what about our livelihood?
No, that is one part. But
how many families, 260 members that we have, their families, connected families, they eat that rice, they live on that, they do fishing over there. You are displacing them.
See, in the national interest, I feel that in the national interest, if somebody sacrifices, part of them, it's a larger goal.
Okay, Dr. Mascarenhas, I'll bring you in. Let him speak. I'll give you a chance to speak immediately after. See, Dr. Mascarenhas, this is a very, very sensitive balancing act that needs to be done. One understands the national cause, one understands the overall cause, and some very lucid arguments and points have been put forward by both Giriraj Bab and Namand Kochkar. But at the end of the day, there are human beings living there and living off that land, their livelihoods, their past, their generations before, and the future generations. I don't know whether all of them will stick to farming or not, but what I'm essentially saying is that they are concerned about their present and they're concerned about their future. They're also saying that they have lived off these ecosystems, indigenous people, and they are earning out of that because they grow there, their livelihoods are connected to it, and so on and so forth. Now the issue is when these sensitive matters are there, then don't you think a more detailed engagement was necessary to have some kind of a way out? And also some of the concerns that they've raised, essentially saying is, look, you will have a service road, what happens then? And so according to you, from a scientific point of view, and since you know the area as well, what should be done to restore confidence, and what should be done to see that they feel a little more involved in the decision making that is happening?
I just mentioned earlier that this is a regulated activity, and the bridge or a road actually cannot be stopped just because somebody is building it. But there are guidelines for it, and that is the EIA. Now, a similar thing happened 4 years ago where I was partly involved. Is what is happening that with the embankment at Sarauli to Benauli. Okay, today, just the other last week, everybody is blaming that embankment for flooding. So the issue that I raised that time was, one thing what's being done, and in fact, in my personal opinion, it should not be done, is that our Khazans are getting bisected. Now, I'll give you the example of the Alle Nuve, bypass. It's exactly midway between the wetland. Now, what is happening there? On one side, the land that doesn't look like in a very good health, and the other side, it is more fallow and it's a wasteland. And the classic example I can give you is the Konkan railway embankment at Mandur and Neura. On the river side, everything is fine and shining, but on the land side, the wetland is struggling, and I call that a wasteland. Nothing is growing there except for invasive species. Now that is what happens if you put an embankment and if you bisect a wetland. Now I just heard from you that the thing is going on stilts, right? Entirely on stilts. Now I was happy with that, and this is a plus point, for you people. Now, if the agencies, the government agencies, can give you a guarantee that I'm going to put, as you said, correctly said, I'm going to put an embankment, service road, mud has to be put there by breaking some hill. By the way, you're breaking some hill. You're killing Peter to save Paul, something of that sort. Ultimately, both should not die. Okay, and then you're going to remove the mud. Now, I can guarantee you, if a wetland is reclaimed by putting mud, it is possible to remove everything, provided it's done in letter and spirit. Okay, it should be done even manually, maybe in such a way that the original surface of the paddy field, the Khazan or the wetland, you come up to that, and once everything is cleaned of the red mud, okay, I can tell you how to restore that. But they need a guarantee that this embankment, that what they call a service road, that it will be cleaned in totality. Now, is that possible? I really do not know, because we have an experiment, and by the way, I'm not an activist, but I was an activist regarding the Konkan railway issue. Okay, and we got that viaduct. At Agasai, there is a viaduct. I give everybody that example. With that viaduct, originally it was supposed to be an embankment, a huge embankment up to the river. That OZA commission or something, I appeared there, and they agreed, and the government agreed, and now we have a viaduct that's 1 kilometer long. So what's happening today? The train is going on top, mangroves are growing down. The original passages are perfect. Now, another thing here that has to be guaranteed to them is that the antecedent drainage, I'm using the word antecedent drainage, now Fodio that you call, they are age old, centuries old, which are functioning perfectly, and our Khazans are in perfect equilibrium. They are functioning as agro industry even today. That should not be disturbed. So ultimately, what you can do, I'm not quite sure. You are having a column, okay, all round the land, you give it back to me. Is that possible? If it's possible, that is a plus point for you. But whether it's possible or not, I do not know. But please give them that guarantee.
Can you quickly respond to this?
No, I'll come to that. Since he has touched something which is very emotional, which is Mandur and Neura. I am from Neura. And I have lost land because of Konkan railway. A farm which my father used to cultivate, we had to lose it. आणि केले कितें मोदी रोड घालो and it kept flooding. But the issue is not only Konkan railway. हे जे मानस म्हणून करता ते खावटे घालता
Yes.
बांदिल्ले ब्रिज फोडटात with gelatin and that is the condition.
Also.
See farming and what happens is when I was with the chief minister's office, first day there was a delegation from Neora farmers saying थंय उदक नाका and the next day there was a delegation of a Manaskar ki थंय कोणूच farming करना, so let us do it. So what I am trying to say is, and Konkan Railway is also a classic example why I have my, like you are saying about trust, I have trust deficit with activists also. You tell me, why was Karmali railway station opposed? And why was the approach road to build a station in Neora built? And then suddenly whatever, I mean that's actually a classic case. How sometimes religion gets also involved in activism. Konkan Railway is a classic case, but I will not come to that today. But what I am trying to say is the ecological damage which was done because of the approach road which was built right in front of my house in Neura. What happens to that? So all I am trying to say is, if the questions that Dr. Mascarenhas is asking, if the answer to that yes, will they withdraw the agitation? That is the question.
Okay, let's first, let us first.
No, see, if these fears are allayed, because I'll tell you, I'll tell you where my problem is.
Right.
Now you are saying that government should be sensitive. If the government was not sensitive, they could have simply said, you are being compensated, the matter ends. The very fact that government is still trying to work out a solution, that the people who are land losers still get access to that land, I think that itself is sensitive. And if that is not being sensitive, then I don't know what is. So all I am trying to say is, see, you cannot clap with one hand. And again my question lies, out of 40 hectares which are being done, why are 28 hectares quiet?
Okay, I'll come to the points that Dr. Mascarenhas said, and then I'll get Lino in again. See, the couple of things he's raised and they've also raised. One is on stills, and what he has said is that once the pillars come up and once the stills come up, is it possible or can a guarantee be given that the rest of the land is given back to them without any problem? Secondly, they have raised a very strong apprehension about service roads. Service roads also, when the land is acquired for service roads and it's built, there should be a way to restore that particular land, and he explained very clearly in other examples. The viaduct example was also given. The issue is, I don't know whether these points have been brought to the table, but now since very important points have been raised,
very much.
Will the government go back and think along these?
They are very much. See, again, that's what I'm saying. All these issues are partly resolved to the extent that one, the stilt itself will ensure that the flow is continuous.
Correct.
Secondly, I just checked with some of the officials. They are saying without EIA, any which was the CRZ permission will not come. Right. So the draft EIA has already been submitted. The rapid EIA will be submitted now, very shortly. But what I am trying to say is, as far as the debris are concerned, their clearance is something that has been assured to them also by the government. But all I am trying to say is, the very fact, the first moot point is whether the bridge is needed or no, and the answer is yes. And the answer is as of yesterday. So all I am trying to say is, let us not wait till a point where something happens to the Bori bridge. See, it may have been given 20 years guarantee, but another tender of 20 crores is coming because then maintenance has to be done. But if government is supposed to look at 10 years from now, then we don't need a government. As I always say, the Atal Setu or that Pato bridge which was built was not to cater to next 5 years. See, once the economic activity in Verna goes up, where are you going to, fly them from? And this is going to be unsustainable. The
issue is, see, the point here is, we understand that you all are saying that yes, everything is fine. What happens to our traditional communities? That's the main point, and which is a very valid point. What Dr. Mascarenhas is saying and others are saying is that if a proper discussion takes place, if a proper EIA happens in a genuine way, proper way, transparent way, taking everything into aspect. Thirdly, if all the debris which is going to be around, which can potentially damage your lands, if there is an absolute guarantee with penalties involved that those debris are going to be removed, and last but not the least, if it is built on stilts and the land is available without any further damage, if all these things are taken into consideration and traditional activities are saved, then when that happens, will the people of Lotuli be agreeable to that solution?
See what happens now. Once you do the service road, it is not possible to take that.
No, but the scientific feedback is that it's possible.
1 minute, I will tell you.
Yes.
Because if you have to put global packing over there. Now at present, if we go in the field, we are going about 50 centimeters deep.
Okay.
And one person cannot go in the field. You have to take two persons. You have to take the support of the other one and come out. See, same way, it is a soft land. You have to put at least 3 layers of rubble to make that service road.
Right.
And on the top, you have to put the muram. So once you put that, even the Chief Minister yesterday in the assembly said, it cannot be removed. And the engineer also said that it won't be able to remove. Since then, the CM said yesterday in the for assembly that I have consulted with the agriculture people, and really the fields will get spoiled.
Okay, Albert, your quick point on this. Then we'll
See,
get
when it is talked about the 28 hectares, whatever that is, that none of them are protesting. What kind of land are they using? We have sworn affidavits with the association that nobody will keep a single land fallow. Everyone is cultivating. We do inspection. They live on it. Now that land, what kind of land it is that they acquired?
But they are not losing that land. They are losing that land.
Losing that land. But the problem is that today, if it was not agriculture land, what we are surviving, a livelihood, we would have cooperated with the government in 100%. When we could do, we did it with the missing link when it was going at the end. But now it is going over our stomach. It is okay. Suppose even then, if Honorable Chief Minister meets our farmers and convinces them like how Mr. Maskaran has been telling, I have no objection. I'll be the last one to talk if they are satisfied, because it is not, it are many fields, there are only 2,000 and those people do not have any other land for survival. No other land other than this, which I don't know how many thousand years or 2,000 years they have been living on it. Now if they are satisfied after our Honorable Chief Minister convincing them and technical experts convince them, I am nobody to say no.
Mr. Kochkar, I'll come to you. Mr. Kochkar, see what happens here is that on one hand, there's a lot of logic, a lot of very good points, a lot of very lucid points, scientific points that have been put forward. Here the issue is somehow, somewhere, the conflict seems to be between, raw emotion and a lot of fear over losing their livelihoods. And maybe the answer lies not so much in science, but in a little bit of people management, reaching out to hearts and convincing them, look, Baba, what the government will not leave you high and dry. I think that is something which I'll ask Giraj Bab also to reflect on. But what I'm essentially saying, I think that is where the missing link is in this.
Yeah, I agree to that, because when I first came to you just now, I said that there is absolutely no transparency, because I myself didn't know the layout first. You know, when I came, I tried to dig out. Then I came to know this.
Even I didn't know.
So most of the people are not aware. That is one thing. When Giriraj also was sitting there, I said. But they said that earlier they tried that, and once they more information give, people make you more confused. That is also one argument.
The basic fear that they have.
One more point I'll just make out. See, the fear is about, putting a robot and all that thing. See, now technologies have come and they have so much that you don't need to do all these things. You can make, I'm just telling you, technology wise, if you go to other countries, they don't touch the land, still they dig up and do this. You only have to incorporate it in the tender. Some cost may be higher, but there are technologies wherein without spoiling the land itself also you can do it.
Correct.
That confidence has to be given.
See, you may have the view that some of the fears may be misplaced, right? But the point is, the innocent people on the ground, or some of the people who are not aware of it, or some of the people who may not be activists but who are threatened with the loss of land. For them, they don't know that fears are misplaced or not, because for them, they look at the land going. So ultimately, I think the missing link is not so much with regard to agriculture or science, but the missing link is basically more conversations and building that bridge more than the Bori bridge.
See, now as I come back to the same issue, that if the government has been secretive about the plans, then why are the people who are losing 28 hectares quiet? So all I am trying to say, somebody will lose the land in the larger interest. I have lost land myself, so I can speak on that issue. Now, second issue, which is I think very important, is, as I told you, that they are being fairly compensated on the market rates, which is as per the Land Acquisition Act. In addition to that, government, which actually where the government's responsibility stops in normal cases, but the sensitive government like the BJP government led by Dr. Pramod Sawant and also the nationally, like what Mr. Gadkari has also said, they will do everything possible within their powers to try and see that the land can be used and there is least ecological damage. But again, the moot question still remains unanswered, is what happens to this transportation in absence of the Bori Bridge, or what happens to the livelihood of those who are dependent on Venda Industrial Estate if, God forbid, something happens to the Bori Bridge. And I think we should not wait till that casualty comes up. My only argument here is that government has been absolutely forthright. I'll only give one example of Bhoma. Bhoma, there is such a big agitation being done. There are some people who are genuine, but there are also some people who are fighting because their land is in their uncle's name and they will not get compensation. There are some people who have built illegal rooms to be let out to these industrial workers, and they will go, so they will lose income. Now, if government is also to accommodate illegal businesses or illegal titles.
But that is not the case in Lothal.
No, again, I will have to, as I said, there are genuine farmers. I am not questioning their intent. I gave you a very specific example as far as, because this debate I got to know yesterday. So whatever information I have been able to collect, I have collected, but on this, I only say one thing. As a connectivity to Ponda and Salset and Mormugava, I think the new bridge, Bori Bridge is critical. And if it is not done, then I think Goa will lose out. And that is my only this, and government is very sensitive. All the promises will be made, but all I am trying to say is, Fana Magir Mandal to me, there are 260 farmers, 240 agree. What if 20 don't? So are you going to hold government to ransom? That is the question.
I'll come to you. Just one quick, then because you need to respond also. Ultimately, what happens is there are enough points in favor of the bridge happening. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, democracy is all about the last person standing. And even if there are 5 people who are hurt or 10 people who are hurt, each of them is a citizen of this country, and they need their rights to be protected. So that aspect also needs to be looked at from the point of view of only one thing, is that whatever the fears are, in the light of the fact that the necessity of the bridge is so important, the need to address these fears becomes even more critical, because at the end of the day, as Albert also said, that if all these fears are allayed, he is not going to oppose for the sake of opposition. He very clearly said that at the end of the day, we need to be kind of, at least there has to be, and as Giriraj said, that a lot of conversations have happened, but I think more conversations in terms of a more transparent TIA, increase in communication to ensure that all their fears with regard to debris and roads is addressed.
Yeah. In fact, I just listed my final suggestion here, actually. But I'll come to the last points first. In all our, I think, government agencies, I can say point blank, we don't have that concept of conservation. We don't have that concept of restoration. If something has happened, can you restore it? Why it's not being restored? And then, of course, aggressive plantation. Now we have the new highways, they are ready. How much plantation has been done? The Mersage Old Goa, 10,000 trees were promised. How many can you count? I counted 150. So what happened to 9,000? When such things people see, then the doubts arise. There it happened. Here also it will happen. So why can't these things of conservation or restoration not being addressed? So that was my sort of recommendation here. Okay, even if there is damage, guarantee that the restoration will be done. Yeah. Now, whether it's a bypass on stilts or embankment, we have to certify and guarantee that the antecedent drainage is restored and maintained. The folio and all that, so that flooding is lessened. Okay, then whatever mud is put, you are going to remove. Where will you throw it? You have to address that also. As I said, Peter and Paul. Okay, now so much concrete will be needed for the structures. You need kadi, what we call it, metal. You need sand. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me the volume of sand and metal that's required? That means you have to blast some mountains. So what happens to that EIA? It's happening in Tumkur at the moment.
Right.
They are just blasting for the sake of granite, and people they are running away. Villages are abandoned. So these are also issues that come. Such things only I can think. I think. Okay, people get angry when I say that.
No, but that is why it's important to have various stakeholders,
Yes,
scientists,
yes.
everybody to be a part of this.
Yeah, my concern is now again Konkan Railway. You know, if you go to some areas all along the route, those what you call slippers, they are extra slippers. They have been thrown there 20 years ago, and they are lying there today. You can use those things somewhere else.
Correct.
If one by one you lift, because that's concrete, it's not going to rot. One by one you remove it, take it away, and put a new railway line somewhere or use it somewhere. It's not happening because that contract is over, tender is over. So forget all this. Now that is why people have fears because of these things. Like that, I can list so many things and all that, but all of you will get angry. No, I don't want that.
No, the important points, Albert. Over to
Yeah.
you.
Now, when you talk about the roads that are being made and economic wise, you see, when the Verna road was made missing lane, it was cut in the middle where the petrol pump is come. The properties on the left and right flourished. There was no road. The value come for that property. Here there is no question of value. Here we are losing. And the total reason is that there are no houses and it is shortcut. Is that the reason? There can be no houses in the Khazans, there road and 100 houses over there. And then when you go across to BORIM, there are some people from there also, they have protested. They are signatory to the NGT also. When you go little up, the hill comes to Baitacall. There are no houses there. There are hills. There are hills. And I have gone there, that is not on cashew plantation. So even when Mr. Gadkari ji came, Indian Minister, I was very happy. He said, see, people are approaching me for compensation and we are giving good compensation. They are coming, please take my land. But in our case, that is not the case. Now even tomorrow when the Chief Minister comes and calls all my farmers and their fears are put to rest.
Yes.
Rest. I have no objection. Tomorrow being the chairman of that association and my people who are there with me, they are 92, 96, 78, 82. They are living there. Today in the morning if you go to see, they cannot walk, they are there.
Right.
Today when I told them I am going for something, he said, we are coming. I said, you can't come here. You can't come here. I said, you can't come here.
Right.
See, the feeling of the village and that closeness. The other day, the 96-year-old man who always comes with me, he fell down near the highway somewhere, somebody knocked him down. I went to his house, we picked him up, went to the police station, made a complaint, took him to the hospital, kept one man to look after him and got him and left him at home. And today when he cannot walk properly, he's telling me, I am coming. So this is the problem. I am a chairman by, I don't know, by default I landed over there. I am not a big farmer, although I got 10,000 square meters of my ancestral fields over there.
Right.
But the problem is that people are in a fear that they will not be able to do agriculture. And there are twin problems into it. If the pisciculture suffers, then we don't get money out of the sluice gate. We need 15 lakhs every year to maintain that bath. There are bontos coming for that because of the crabs. And even if you tell today WRD, they are not doing the breaches also, they say no, you do it.
Right.
Because you need people who have that idea.
Right.
Because this is on chicle and mud, it's different altogether.
Right.
So if that pisciculture suffers, if no fish grows there after all that mud and all, our Khazan disappears totally.
Okay. We are unfortunately running out of time, but I think this issue has been addressed very, very comprehensively. I thank all our panelists, Giriraj Bab, Damodar Kuchkar, Albert, you, Lino, Dr. Mascarenhas. What is important here is that there is obviously scope for a huge meeting ground. The larger aspect of the bridge being built, keeping the locals who are losing their land in good spirit, humor, and most importantly, giving them justice. That scope is always there. The government is saying that we have kind of reached out and there has been no secrecy on our part. The people feel that a lot of apprehensions need to be allayed more because that confidence levels are not coming back. There are elderly fighting and they feel that their land is getting completely lost. So somewhere down the line, I think as I say this repeatedly, the missing link and the bridge that has to be built is more human than of concrete. And I think efforts, and what is important here, good to know, is that both sides are absolutely kind of open towards achieving that end. There is no rigidity on either side, and if there's any silver lining to be taken out of this, it is that there is no rigidity. But at the same time, one was very, very pleasantly, though not surprised, but it was very pleasant for the old veteran warhorse Dr. Mascarenhas putting forth a lot of very important scientific points, and he educated us a lot on this.
Sir, give me a chance.
Yes.
We are very grateful even to our MLA and Environment Minister and the golden person, Gadkari ji, for giving us very patient hearing. They could have pushed it on us, but they gave us a chance. So we are very grateful to them.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I think we should let us kind of move forward, economically, ecologically, scientifically, and humanly. And I think if all these 4 roads meet, I think the bridge will be built, and hearts will also be built at the same time. Thank you.